That will hotly be contested in Jefferson City next month. Proposals impacting transgender Missourians. Conservative lawmakers want to make it tougher for people to change the gender on their driver's license. It became a major talking point this summer after a transgender woman in Ellisville sparked outrage for using a women's locker room at the Lifetime Fitness. Missouri Capitol reporter Hannah Falcon is talking to the lawmaker behind one proposal about why he feels more restrictions are needed.
Missouri Department of Revenue currently has the ability to determine when and why someone can change the gender on their driver's license, but some lawmakers think that should change, especially after an incident at a St. Louis area gym. It started with an incident at a Lifetime Fitness in Ellisville, Missouri.
That may make them feel comfortable, but it makes other people uncomfortable.
Republican State Representative Justin Sparks called for an investigation into the gym after a transgender woman was reported for using the women's bathroom. But the gym allowed her to because she had a female driver's license. The Department of Revenue has since taken away the form that allowed gender changes on official IDs. But Sparks wants to make sure those decisions are not left in the hands of a state department.
How can policy be arbitrarily changed by the Department of Revenue?
He's written a bill that says the gender on official forms of identity can only be the biological sex and cannot be changed based on self-identification, surgery, or other treatments. It also says any previously issued forms of ID with non-biological sex must be revoked. Another bill filed by Republican State Representative Brandon Phelps would codify the Department of Revenue's current policy, which requires proof of gender-affirming surgery to change the gender on your driver's license.
Adults who have been living their lives as their true, authentic selves, many of whom have not only socially transitioned, but have medically transitioned, would carry an ID that has the wrong gender marker on it. And that sets a very, very dangerous precedent in our state.
Katie Ecker-Lynch with Promo, Missouri has advocated for LGBTQ+ rights in the Missouri legislature for 4 years now. And she's watched, disappointed, as lawmakers push year after year for bills like these.
It's a gross misunderstanding of the actual experiences of transgender Missourians. And so I would encourage these representatives and the Department of Revenue to listen to people who are impacted by these bills.
If Missouri implements Sparks' bill, it would join 4 other states in prohibiting people from changing the gender on their driver's license. Those are Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and Kansas. Reporting in Jefferson City, I'm Hannah Falcon, First Alert 4.